Hi everyone, Mike Flores here on behalf of iTradingU. Today I want to look at the markets that moved very well in currencies and energy. But first, let's start off with looking at the Emini SP market. The Fed announced today that it would reduce its bond buying by $10 billion a month, and they would continue with an accommodative policy going into 2015 before they raise rates, more or less. So now look at this. The market broke out to new highs today, and that leads us to believe that the market will go higher. We close on the high of the day. So for those of you who are worrying about when should I get out, when will the market turn, put those worries to the side and trade what the actual market is giving you. If you're long, keep your long. And unless we got below this swing low here at 1917 or below the 50-day moving average at 1881.50, I think you got 1883.80, sorry. I think you have to keep your long bias for now. One thing of note that could hurt this market are housing numbers releases. We're starting to see cracks in those numbers, so we'll be watching those to see how they have an effect on the market overall. Now let's move over to Brent Crude. Let's talk about the energy sector. So you see Brent Crude had a strong finish today, closed near the high of the day. One thing to note is that ISIS, which is the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, they seem to be having a slowdown in their move forward in its move in Iraq. The U.S. has sent in some troops to help the Iraqis protect U.S. interests, and the Iraqi government seems to be making a stand. So let's see how that plays out. Now, again, if you're long Brent, I would be happily long Brent and continue to keep that long Brent. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because I want to look at crude oil for a second, WTI crude. And we look at that market today and we see that it had a down day. It was weak today. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that the U.S. oil supply won't really be affected that much. And we see that the market closed weak on the day. It closed down and weak. Closed near the lows of the day. Now, this is a concerning sign for those of you who are long oil. We had a nice move up in the oil market, but on a day where there was some concern over Iraq and people are still watching that situation as it unfolds, for the market to break lower and close lower, that's not a good sign. Michael Marcus, a famous market wizard, had this famous saying of saying, buy that which is strongest and sell that which is weakest. So here goes a perfect example. I showed you the Brent crude chart a second ago that closed on the highs of the day, whereas the crude oil, the WTI crude oil, the US crude oil, closed lower on the day and made new lows and closed at the low. So we also notice that the spread then between Brent and crude has widened quite substantially, above around $7 today. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And for those of you that are long crude, I'd be nervously long crude here and watching to see what happens, especially if we break back below this big up day here. So this is something I'm keeping my eye on, and definitely if we get back below the 50-day moving average. But something else we talked about earlier in the week I want to take a look at was heating oil. We can see that heating oil is breaking out to the top side. We talked about buying on a breakout of the 55-day highs back here, and that happened earlier in the week. So we're now long that market and with our stops down in this region and looking to see how this market continues to proceed. We would love to see it take out 308.30. That's the next big resistance level on our charts. Now let's move to currencies. Let's go to first the euro yen and look at that market. So that market has had a nice move down, the euro yen, and we see it's below the 50-day and the 200-day moving averages. Now, if this market closes this week below the 200-day moving average, that's a serious sign that I'm going to be watching, because if you go back and look, the euro yen market hasn't been below its 200-day moving average in a pretty long time, dating all the way back to November of 2012. So I want to see how this market closes this week, because this is a weak market and this might be ripe and prime for a sale. Now, below the 200-day moving average, you could stay short that market below that level and close that position if it closes back above the 200-day moving average. Again, I think the weekly close will be very important here in euro yen. Now let's look at the opposite. Let's look at Aussie yen. Aussie yen is flirting with 55-day highs. So we're looking to see how it reacts up here and if it can take out these levels. We're already above the 200-day and the 50-day moving average. We would like to see the ADX tip up in blue to show us that the trend is resuming, and a break above those levels, above these levels here, would definitely tell us that that's happening. So on a break of the 55-day highs, I will be getting long Aussie yen with my stop at the low of the breakout day. Again, here we're above the 50 and 200-day moving averages, which give me a lot of confidence in this move. So in this example, I would be long the Aussie yen crosses and short the Euro yen crosses. Now let's talk about dollar EM, the dollar versus emerging markets. Today, dollar rand had a 1.5% move lower. We can see this big move here on the day, and basically this is technically called an outside day. So what that means is today's high and low encompass the previous day's high and low, which we can see here. Notice also we also closed at the bottom of the day, the low of the day, which is a pretty bearish indication. So what'll probably happen here is you have some bottom feeders come in and guys who think that dollar rand is cheap because the move might be overextended, and they'll look to buy some, bid for some down here and hope for a return, even 50% retracement or more on that move. It's tough to buy dollars down here since, again, we had this outside day and we closed near the lows of the day. So I'll be watching this market as well, because if this market gets below the 50-day and 200-day moving averages, that's really bearish for dollar rand. Now, let's quickly look at another EM market, dollar Mexico. And dollar Mexico, although it wasn't clearly an outside day, it was a big down day. Yesterday, we closed above the 50-day and 200-day moving average, and today we reversed that totally and closed below the 200-day moving average and right at the 50-day moving average. Now, this is also a bearish sign, so let's see how this plays out. So it looks like, to me, what's happening is people are getting back into riskier assets. They're selling the dollar and they're buying the riskier, high-yielding currencies in forms of the Mexican peso and the South African rand. But this is the chart that I really like. Looking here at dollar Singapore, we can see this market sold off big today as well, and it was also an outside day lower. Now, what I notice as well is it's below the 200-day moving average and below the 50-day moving average. And what I really want to see is it close below this swing low and then take out these lows down here at 50 and 49. 55 and 49. Because if I can get a break below that, that'll give me real confirmation that this market is moving lower. So again, I would love to see the ADX go higher there, and on a break of the 55-day low, I would get short this market with my stop at the high of the breakout day. Again, hoping that the ADX turns up, making this trend get stronger. So I'm watching this market anxiously, and today, if you got short on a break of these lows, I would keep that short since we're closing on these lows of the day. I didn't get short myself today, but I will be looking to get short on a break here small and a bigger break of these lows here. So this is what I'm looking at today, and these are the moves that I'm looking at. And again, dollar EM is weaker, so dollar is weaker against emerging markets because people are getting more confidence in the market overall, as we saw today in the Emini SP market, and the fact that high-yielding currencies are worth the risk right now. So that's what I'm looking at. As always, I look forward to your comments, feedback, questions in the comments section. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. On behalf of iTradingU, this is Mike Flores. Have a good one.